The therapist asked how I was feeling. I said I was fine. She started writing before I finished answering. That's when I understood she wasn't really listening to me. I'm fine is what you say when what's actually wrong doesn't fit into words yet, or when you're too tired to watch someone try to shrink it into something manageable. The room felt sterile in a way that wasn't comforting, too white, too precise. Like every detail had been chosen on purpose, not for comfort, but for control. Even the silence felt designed. Sounds didn't echo, but they still landed harder than they should have. The air conditioner ran in a steady, indifferent hum. I kept my hands resting on my knees, fingers spread wide, always spread. She noticed. They always notice. Hands give things away you don't mean to show. You've been consistent, she said. Medication, attendance. No incidents in nearly 6 months. I nodded. 6 months sounds like progress when someone else says it out loud. To me, it just felt like time passing without something going wrong. She asked about anger, not where it came from, not when it started, just what it felt like. I looked past her instead of at her. There was a small crack in the wall behind her shoulder, thin, barely visible. I focused on it like it mattered, like it might tell me something if I stared at it long enough. It feels like pressure, I said. Her pen slowed, not enough to be obvious, just enough. Pressure. I nodded slightly, like something being held down. That's when her pen stopped completely. I knew I'd said the wrong thing. She recovered quickly. They always do. People trained long enough learn how to smooth over reactions they don't want to show. And if you don't manage that pressure, she asked. I didn't answer right away, not because I didn't know, because it never sounds right when I say it. It always comes out wrong. Too extreme, too dangerous. It doesn't go away, I said, finally. It builds. I shifted slightly in the chair. The fabric made a quiet noise that felt too loud in the room. It's not like anger, I added. She looked up then. Actually looked. Anger is fast, I said. This isn't. I pressed my feet flat against the floor, grounding, something they taught me. This is slow, I said, like weight stacking from the inside. She wrote something down again. Smooth, controlled. I didn't like the way she wrote. She asked if I'd ever hurt anyone. I let out a short laugh before I could stop myself. Dry, sharp. You've read the file, I said. She didn't react. I need to hear it from you. I swallowed. Yeah, I said, I have. I hesitated. I just don't always remember how it changes after. Not in obvious ways, not dramatic, subtle, like the room itself shifts, like the air gets heavier. She asked about my childhood next. I gave her facts, dates, schools, places we moved, things that didn't need explaining. I didn't tell her about lying awake at night, listening to my heartbeat, waiting for it to do something wrong, or how my body learned to stay still before I understood why it needed to. Then she asked if I hated myself. That one almost caught me. No, I said. I looked down at my hands again, still spread, still steady. I just don't trust myself. That felt closer to the truth. She nodded like that made sense. I hated that it did. The session ended the same way they always do. Medication reminders, avoid triggers, call if things feel like too much. I nodded. I always nod. The hallway outside felt tighter, too many people, too much movement. I kept my head down and counted steps between tiles. My whole life, people have told me I have a problem with anger, that I need to control it, suppress it, manage it. No one ever asks why when I succeed. It feels like I'm holding something down that's trying to push back. Most days I don't feel violent. I feel contained, like something sealed too tightly. That's not the part they write down. They document incidents, outbursts, compliance. Not the space in between, not the effort it takes to stay exactly as still as I am. Not the quiet hum under my skin when I'm not calm. Just controlled. I stood outside the building longer than I needed to, breathing, counting. For a moment, just a moment, the pressure shifted, not rising, not fading, turning. I clenched my jaw and forced it back down because whatever that feeling was, I wasn't ready to face it yet, and neither were they. I didn't realize I was different at first. I just knew everything felt heavier for me than it did for everyone else. Not physically, internally, like I was carrying something no one else could see. When I was a kid, I learned quickly that there were rules everyone else seemed to understand without being told. Not written rules, the kind you're supposed to pick up just by watching people. When to speak, when to stop, when to let something go. I never got that right. I was told to calm down a lot. Teachers said it like advice. Adults said it like a warning. Kids said it like a dare. I tried. That's the part no one believes. The pressure started early. Not anger, not thoughts. Pressure. It would build in my chest first, then spread into my arms, like something expanding into space that didn't belong to it. My breathing would change before I noticed. My hands would tighten on their own. I didn't have words for it back then. So I reacted. And every time I did, things got worse. If I raised my voice, I was punished. If I slammed something, it disappeared. If I pushed back even a little, I learned what the belt felt like. Not once. Repeatedly, they called it discipline. I learned to call it predictable. It always followed the same pattern. First, the look, then the warning, then the silence. I learned to fear the silence more than anything else. Silence meant the decision had already been made. Nothing I said mattered after that. There's one memory that never really left. Not the worst one, just the clearest. I was 8. School had been loud that day, too many voices too close together. By the time I got home, the pressure was already there, tight and humming under my skin. I knocked over a glass by accident. Milk spread across the table. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. The room still went completely quiet. I apologized too quickly. That made it worse. I don't remember yelling, but I remember being told I did. I remember being pulled down the hallway, my feet barely touching the ground, the wall scraping against my shoulder. And I remember thinking very clearly, if I stay quiet, it will end faster. It didn't. The first hit knocked the air out of me. Everything after that blurred together, not gone, compressed, like too much happening in too little space. Afterward, I was told it wouldn't have happened if I'd just controlled myself. I believed that completely. From that point on, every mistake meant more. More watching, more distance, more silence. I wasn't grounded, I was erased. Days would pass without anyone speaking to me unless they had to. Food left out, doors closed quietly. That kind of quiet teaches you things. It teaches you that being noticed is dangerous. At school, teachers saw the bruises sometimes. They asked questions. I gave answers that didn't cause problems later. That's where I learned how to lie without actually lying. The pressure never left. It just learned patience. By the time I was a teenager, the outbursts were less frequent, but when they happened, they were worse. I didn't understand why controlling it made it stronger, why holding everything in made it feel inevitable when it finally came out. I just knew the consequences kept getting heavier. I started to hate parts of myself I couldn't explain, my hands, my voice, the way my body moved before I could stop it. People told me I had a temper, that I needed structure, discipline. I got all of that. None of it worked. No one ever asked if I was trying to control the wrong thing. I learned how to stay still, how to swallow words before they came out, how to lock my jaw until it hurt. Silence kept me safer than honesty ever did. But the pressure didn't care what I learned, it just waited. When I finally left home, I thought distance would fix it. New place, new life. I thought whatever this was belonged there. It didn't. It came with me. It just got quieter. Quiet enough that I almost believed it was gone. That was the mistake. Adult life has its own rules. No one explains them, but you figure them out quickly. You can be strange, as long as you're useful. You can be tense, as long as you don't make it anyone else's problem. I learned how to work. I learned how to disappear while doing it. I kept everything small. No roommates, no crowds. Jobs where routine mattered more than personality. That's where Greg Smith came in. A name that didn't stick, a name that didn't invite questions. I could say it out loud and feel nothing attached to it. Greg Smith showed up on time. Greg Smith kept his head down. Greg Smith didn't cause problems most days. The pressure didn't spike anymore. It didn't warn me. It settled. It lived behind my ribs, and the heavy and constant, like something leaning its full weight against the inside of my chest, waiting. I built my life around that weight, carefully, quietly, making sure nothing slipped before it had the chance to push back. People notice things, they always do. A supervisor once asked why I never took breaks with everyone else. I told him I liked the quiet. He laughed like that made sense. It didn't. A coworker asked why I went completely still when arguments started. I said I didn't like conflict. That part was true, just not all of it. Relationships never lasted. At first, everything felt normal. Then they'd notice how fast I shut down when voices rose, how I left instead of finishing conversations, how I watched their hands when they got upset. They'd ask if I was okay. I always said yes, too fast. Arguments had a pattern. I could feel them coming before they started, a shift, a tightening. Pressure, leaning in, waiting. I learned to leave early. Sometimes I didn't leave fast enough. The outbursts changed. They weren't chaotic anymore. They were controlled, short, precise, explosive in a way that scared people who thought they understood anger. Doors slammed. Words landed wrong. Silence stretched too long. Each time, it got worse. Warnings, closed-door meetings, careful language. Not a good fit. Can't handle stress. We need someone more stable. I stopped explaining. Explaining sounded like excuses, so I started watching myself like a machine, tracking every reaction, listening for changes, measuring everything. It didn't help. The pressure didn't care. It didn't care how careful I was. It didn't care how quiet I stayed. It only cared about one thing, being held down. One night, I stood in my apartment with the lights off, completely still, listening to my own breathing, slow, controlled, every muscle tight. I remember thinking, if I don't move, maybe it will pass. It didn't. The next time, something changed. It was smaller. That made it worse. A comment, a look, someone stepping too close, no blackout, no loss of control, just clarity. Everything sharpened, my pulse, the air, the distance between us exact perfect. I stepped back barely. Afterward, I waited for the guilt, the shame, the crash. It didn't come. That's when I got scared. All I felt was tired. Not normal tired. Something deeper, like I'd been holding something back for a long time. And it hadn't finished yet. By my 30s, my life became routine. Same routes, same stores, same hours. Greg Smith got very good at not being noticed, but the pressure changed. Not louder, smarter, more patient. At night, I could feel it shift, not pushing, not leaving, just checking. I told myself everyone carries something, stress, trauma, bad wiring. This was just mine. I was wrong. I forgot my medication that morning, not on purpose, just didn't take it. Work was loud, not chaotic, compressed, orders stacking, timers screaming, voices overlapping. My hands were steady. That should have warned me. I moved carefully, checked everything twice, slowed myself down, tried to stay ahead of it. Something slipped anyway. It always does. The customer came back angry. I heard him before I saw him. Fast, heavy, deliberate. He slammed the bag down. Wrong order. Missing items. His voice climbed and pulled the whole room with it. I apologized. I meant it. I reached for the bag. He hit me, and something answered. My hands slammed the counter, hard. The edge cut into my palms. My breath filled my ears. Too loud, too fast. I remember his eyes. That part stayed clear. People shouting, hands grabbing me, someone yelling my name like it mattered. I didn't black out. I was there for all of it, every sound, every movement, every decision. When they pulled me back, my body didn't stop. It leaned forward, focused, like it had chosen something and didn't want to let go. Then it stopped. My hands were shaking, not rage, shock. The man was on the ground, alive, bleeding. Someone pressed a towel to his face. The police came, statements, video. He hit first. No charges. That should have felt like relief. It didn't. My manager couldn't look at me. Company policy. Liability. Not a good fit. I cleaned out my locker, slow, careful, like it still mattered. Outside, it was raining, heavy, the kind that soaks through everything. I walked. Didn't have a car, didn't need one. The city smelled wrong in the rain, oil, stone, something sharp. My cheek throbbed, my shoes filled with water, every step loud, impossible to ignore. That's when I saw it, a psychic shop, neon flickering, candles glowing inside, warm light spilling onto the street. I didn't believe in any of that, but I stopped anyway. I looked at my reflection, swollen face, eyes, too awake. I told myself, just getting out of the rain, just for a minute. My hand touched the door, and for the first time all day, the pressure changed, not rising, not fading, turning, and standing there, rain dripping off me. I realized something. It didn't care that I was trying. It didn't care that I was ashamed. It didn't care that I was afraid. It had never been losing. It had been waiting.